It is a Monday edition of Woodbine Racing Live from Woodbine Mohawk Park. My name is Jeff Bratt. Don't worry, I'm not flying solo today. I do have the Hall of Famer with me, that being Randy Waples. But we're going to try something brand new here on the show today, and we're going to see how it goes. And we want to hear some feedback from you. If you like it, if you don't like it, we definitely want to hear it back from you. It's going to be more of a conversational type of style in here. If you're a fan of Pardon the Interruption, you'll love the way that we're going to do the show right now. And we do have a jam-packed program coming your way. Obviously, the qualifier report's going to be a busy one. We had a very big name qualifying this morning. We'll take a look back at that. We'll talk about the wonderful conditions we have for racing this evening. Obviously, the big race, the Preferred Trot. We'll see what materializes in that race. We have 11 races in total. We have a pop-up final coming up in the nightcap as well, a pop-up consolation. Just an absolute jam-packed program. But my Hall of Famer friend, Randy Waples, is back with me here on this set. It's a bit of a different look. I walked in today, I saw the desk moved. I thought maybe the locks would be changed based on how things had changed.
You thought I had a freak out.
I thought Randy just totally lost it eventually. I just totally lost it. But do you think we'll get quick miles tonight with the way the weather is?
Yeah, I do. I think the track is like incredibly good, you know, right now, like very, very fast. You know, a month ago you asked me, I would have said we would have had, you know, some issues. But since they resurfaced it the last time, so I would say about 2 weeks, and then they were lucky because they resurfaced it, and then they got one of those pounding rainstorms that just kind of knitted it good. Right now, this is a very, very fast piece of dirt.
And you know what I saw today for the first time that I hadn't seen in a long, long time? Water being added to the track. I can't remember the last time I'd seen it because it's just been so cold. And that will help tighten things up a little bit in here. Now, I know you're not a big fan of change, but I'm here to hold your hand.
There you go.
We better hold both. We have a different format here with everybody on the show. So we'll talk about this quickly in here. Essentially what it's like if you watch like podcasts and stuff like that, you know, you get more of a conversational type of style. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to have some friendly debates.
Okay.
You've got the belt. I've seen you do that in the past. So you've got the belt. You're going to be the champion. But we'll just try it. We'll see how it goes.
Sounds good.
We can always go back.
We can always go back. That's right. We're trying to take a step forward, but we can always take a step back.
Absolutely. So, yeah, we're going to look forward to that. And obviously, we're going to have the same, you know, kind of usual staples that we have. We're going to have the replays. We'll talk about who's had the hot hands as of late as well. We'll talk about potentially some value players down the road as well. But it's been a busy time for me. Like, I had the Sovereign Awards last Thursday. We had opening day at Woodbine on Saturday, and then Sunday, and then back here today. So by race 5, if I hit the wall, I might be in for a qualifier next week. So I'm not tight enough.
You know, we're going to have to get you some of that Flintstones coffee there that Fred used to drink there, the stuff that used to come out like mud.
Let's get to Randy's watch list here on the program here today, and we'll talk about some of the horses that we're going to keep an eye on in here, and we're going to start things off in race number 1 on the program. And I don't want to get invited over to the young Thanksgiving festivities in here because Scotty is booking off his dad's horse. So what do we make of this? The fact that he shows up with Fadeaway Hanover, do you think he thinks that Tregarin needs one, or do you just think that he thinks maybe Fadeaway Hanover is better? Like, plus, I mean, you don't want to disappoint Dad, but you kind of want to stick around with Uncle Ben.
Well, that's it, eh? I honestly think that what happened here was a situation where, you know, obviously Scotty wants to go with Tregarin, you know, Bob's horse, his dad's horse, but he is going to side with Benoit on this one, which, you know, I mean, Fadeaway Hanover has done nothing wrong. And I think that they kind of looked at it and said to themselves, you know, you're probably going to have a better chance this first week on Fadeaway Hanover. And I mean, obviously, Bob Young wants to see Scott succeed. So he wants to see Scotty picking up drives from a live barn like Ben Bergeron's, you know. So he's going to try to work with him. And Mario standing in the sidelines. You know, they can get Mario Bergeron first time with their trotter. You can't do
this
any
is
better.
Family Feud, though.
Well,
because you've got Mario driving for Bob and Scott driving for Ben.
I'm wondering more if what happens if something happened like one ran into the other out on the track. Could that cause a problem if there was hooked wheels somewhere in the mile, you know? But again, though, I think that they have an opportunity where they can get a great driver to get their horse across, you know, a nice easy start the first time, and Scotty can still, you know, pick up a live drive in here.
And we're looking at the replay right now with Fadeaway Hanover, who comes home so nicely. Let's face it, you're facing Penn and Teller Hanover, so.
Well, I mean, Penn and Teller Hanover to me right now is just in a league of his own.
Yeah.
Plus, he's a 4-year-old.
Yeah.
Fadeaway, a 3-year-old. I think he's got a bit of an advantage that way.
Yeah, no, I'm with you on that. And I think obviously with Penn and Teller, there was so much high expectations for him because they paid $500,000 for him, and he's kind of figured things out a little bit. It took him a little while to get going, but he's figured it out there. So both you and I went towards Fadeaway. That's where you see it.
I see it that
Yeah,
way as well.
I do
So
as well.
I'm thinking that the battle of the Youngs right now, the first salvo is going to Scotty Young.
You know, I really like a horse coming up in race number 2, and I don't know if you're with me or not, but Cookie Air, I'm a big fan of because just the way the horse finished up last time out. And, that Rolex, it's a good reference. That's a Waxman horse that, has got some ability. And I think Cookie Air was driven with a little bit of conservatism, for lack of a better term. And I hope the cookie is coming out of the oven nice and tasty today.
Yeah, I agree with you there. I think Cookie Air, and look at the connections.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They're not going to keep a horse around like this, Jeff, unless they, somewhere along the line, somebody said to them as a 2-year-old, this horse is not a bad horse. You should maybe keep him around because he only had the 4 starts as a baby. Now coming back as a 3-year-old, the 1 start to go by, and yeah, it was a good one. He's going to be my top pick in this race. We did send a replay in on Cookie Air, and I like him in here. I think he's going to be the best horse in here. Now, that being said, there's 2 horses in here that really, really scare me. That being the 2-horse Captain Hurley. Dougie had a choice in here. He decides to go back to this breather.
He was lazy, though, remember?
Very.
Yeah.
But he raced him in front.
Yeah, he
so
did.
now if Cookie Air happens to cover him up, he's going to go a better race.
Yeah.
If he decides to race him in front and gets Cookie Air on his back, it's probably going to be kind of a stop and go approach for Cookie Air. So I think that Dougie's going to have something to say about this race, and also Southwind Judge, the Stacy horse. I think he showed me lots last year. Very interested to see what he does this year.
Yeah, James drove that horse in consecutive qualifiers and now obviously shows up here with Cookie Air. But it's a good group. I can tell even the quality now, the non-1s are getting better this time of the year too. I think this is a bit of a salty non-1 myself.
Now, again, though, we're kind of changing subjects here in a small way there. How do you use Cookie Air as a handicapper, though? Because it's James McDonald coming out of Tony Beaton's barn. Yeah. Everybody's going to be playing him. So what? What do? We
got to pick 5.
Yes, that's exactly it. Got to use him in a multi-leg somewhere, right?
Yeah,
and
he's a key for me. He's a key for me. I think there's 2 keys in the sequence. We're going to get to the next one coming up in the next race.
100%. Yeah, I think I'm a little bit ahead of you on this one.
I think there's 2 keys along the way in here, and we might as well get to that race now. Well, let's get to race number 3 now on the program because I was watching the races from home last Monday, and obviously we all know how good Logan Park is, but Randy, I don't think I've seen a trotter fly around a turn in a long time as fast as Gaines Hanover did last time out to luminous contention. I thought briefly that if Logan Park was going to go down to defeat, but he kind of kicked on there. What did you make of the comeback race? I don't think you could have asked for a better performance.
No, and I think that's kind of the performance we were sort of waiting for. You know,
Yeah.
when he came back out as a 4-year-old, he just didn't seem to have that same kind of a pizzazz that we were expecting. It was a good go. A lot of his money was made down in, the United States. Yonkers goes for huge money, but still 21 starts, 172,000. To me, that's a little bit light for his quality, I can say when he came out as a 4-year-old, the first couple of starts as a 4-year-old, I thought that it was just a matter of giving the money to Logan Park, and this horse beat him.
Yeah.
Straight out,
Yeah.
just beat him, So I'm not surprised that he came up with the big start. Now, he's not going to have to face Logan Park. To me, I agree with you. I think he's a key. I think the interesting story is what's going to happen down the road when these two have to face each other and they're both on the same rotation.
Yeah.
Now we're going to see, where the throwdown begins. But I agree with you. Look at this way that this horse is racing here. And I agree with you too. Logan Park plugs out going all he can go, and this horse still keeps coming into his wheelhouse. So he's got to be better off of 1 start under his belt.
I would think so. Fashion Frenzy, I think, might need one. Missed a little bit of time. New rules. I think new rules was very advantageous in the wintertime.
Yes.
Now the waters get deeper, for
deeper.
him. So I think that's... What do you do with Mars Hill? I guess that's a bit of a question mark for me.
I think he's going to decide for us. You know,
Okay.
I'm just going to do a wait and see because
Yeah.
there's so much. We don't really need to. We can watch him race. I think we got the luxury of that. The one that I'm kind of interested is who do you throw in on the bottom? I actually went for my third and my fourth pick. I went right back to the Bergeron too. I went Quebec Hanover in for third, Ghostly Casper. Ghostly Casper's starting to scare me because he's getting enough starts into him. And his big thing that I find with Ghostly Casper is the last quarter, he can roll it.
Yeah.
And when he starts to get tight, look out.
I like that they went with him last week, too. Open up the lungs a little bit, as you would say, right? So,
Yeah.
yeah, he could be right there in the mix of things for sure. Let's get to the fourth now on the program. I know the replay that you want to look at is Tango Sealster. I have two parts to the question. First of all, is Tango Sealster your top pick in the race?
Yes.
The one for 14 this season, does that scare you?
No.
Okay, why?
Because what he did in his last start, you know, any horse can go like have a bad time, you know what I mean? And they can, you know, just not have that kind of mojo that they have. But if they start to show, I always say it as rung the bell. You know, hey, look at me, I'm back again.
Yeah.
Well, that's what I found that Tangle Sealster did in his last. I didn't see it in any of his other ones. I didn't see it when he had the rail 2 down. But I did see it in his last there that he seemed like he was back and ready to play. So I say take a real good, strong look at this replay because I think that this horse is starting to show that he, and you know, it wasn't that long ago, a couple of months ago, this horse was racing extremely, extremely well, you know. I just think that he maybe went through a little bit of a funk, but now we're starting to see it here again with Tangle Sealster. Travis Cullen driving this guy, and again, you know, to me on the back of it there, he's one of the few horses that has a lot of go on the end of it. Travis coming right back again, little bit better post to work with. I like the way that he raced. I'm going to go right to him in here and just think that the wheels are starting to come back.
And you know what's interesting too is JJ Tommy's kind of in the same boat. He has not won a lot of races this season either. He's been a little bit wind shy. There's a bunch of them this race. You've got Mock Impact who's been a little bit wind shy as well. Hestinator's been wind shy too. So I like JJ Tommy. I like the fact that Riley went back in. Man, her barn's rolling right now. Wasn't she star of the card, I think, a couple days ago?
She was, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm going to go back in JJ Tommy's direction. I can't believe that this horse went 51-4 last week and lost.
Yeah, it happens,
just
eh?
crazy.
One quickly before we move on to the next race, though. You give me a horse that you consider an upset because I think we're going to land on the same one because this horse has a lot going for him tonight.
My upset is Acapulco Sunburn.
That's the one.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, look, here's a horse that we know the great things that he's done in the past, the speed that he brings and everything as well, you know. But he's recently come from a little bit of time off. He's been doing all of his racing on half-mile tracks, and that's not going to suit him at his best. He's a big kind of a horse, you know. I think he needs to come back to a big track, and who does he pick up to drive him? James McDonald. So I think that if anybody's looking for a big-time, you know, play that could easily get the job done, but it's probably going to be some pretty good odds in here, Acapulco Sunburn.
Let's get to race number 5 as we talk about, I guess OCL has got to be the feature in this race. I mean, you're taking a substantial drop down in class here in this non-winners of 15. I just wish he got something out of the last start. He self-destructs, and that's basically game, set, match after that.
Yeah, it is. But, you know, something I truly do believe that he, you know, Osceola brings so much to this race. Even though that he didn't have a good, you know, race in his last start, I would throw it away, and I'm still going to Osceola on top.
Okay, we'll get to race number 7 now. We're going to skip a couple of races here because we're a little bit tight for time in here. So let's get the 7th now on the program in here. This is the pop-up series consolation in this spot. You've got, you know, horses that try to get into the final, obviously. Bayfield Beach, Randy. What do we do with Bayfield Beach? I like the fact they rolled the horse last time. I just don't know what his preferred style is. I kind of like the way Harry G finished up last time. I think Toronto was involved in that incident race that you talked about last week, too. Real mixed bag for me coming up in race number 7.
I agree. I mean, you've kind of latched onto a few of the ones that I like, and you've kind of avoided a few of the ones that I like. First question you said about Bayfield Beach. I got him in for 3rd. Now, you know, he hasn't shown us quite that, you know, pizzazz that we've seen him from different times. But what I do like about him is what you just said. They rolled him last start. Older horse, every once in a while, I think they need to be rolled and tired out, and then that's what kind of gets that mojo back flowing again. So I think I'm throwing him in for 3rd. I think he can come up with a big effort. Billy Davis, Victor Putty's barn. has been good. Better of the West, I'm throwing in for second from the 10 hole. Now, this is a horse to me that was locked in. I don't know how good he was, and he does have the 10 hole, but if he was as good as I think he was, I still think he can get onto the board from an outside post. The replay I want to show, my top pick in here is the 4 horse, Better Sunset. Now, take a look at this replay, Jeff. You want to talk about a horse that, to me, really, really looked like he was live on the end of it. So this guy being driven by Travis Cullen. Travis could have a big night there, according to some of my picks in here tonight anyway. But I always enjoy when a driver is in a locked-in situation like this. The horse is obviously live. He's going to move around a few times, but at no point is he going to see an opening. And we get the same driver to come back. You know what I mean? He knows how good he is. Look at this point here, Jeff.
Yeah.
He knows how live he is, you know what I mean? So I think that it's good that he comes back to him. He does tap him a couple of times here, but that's because his momentum has been completely shut down. Now he's got to start him back up again. He's only got about 20 steps to the wire, so he kind of has to get into him a little bit. I think he's going to come up with a big one. And last week, off of that effort, Jeff, he was our horse to watch.
Yeah, I buy it. And unfortunately, bad draw tonight, but helps out the price. You know, that's one thing that's going to happen there. Ninth race on the program, pop-up series final in here. Listen, Phoenix has just had a grand old time, and had to work for a little bit 2 starts ago, but looked a whole lot better last week.
Is this where you're going?
Yeah. It's a key for me.
Yeah.
I hate to be unoriginal, but I would be very surprised if he lost today.
Yeah, I would be too. And the biggest thing is too, is we've seen this movie with him before, last season where he came into a pop-up series. He was racing okay, but nothing great. But as the longer he stayed in that pop-up series, the more powerful he became, the confidence came, everything just seemed to really swell him up to the point where he was actually racing in the open or just below it and racing quite well. So let's take a look at the replay on Phoenix in here and tell me if you do not think that he's getting stronger. The first win in the pop-up, he had the 8 hole. He come out of there 28-1, win by a half a length, but more or less a shutdown winner. I think he was good. But this race, he wins by 3 3/4. I think that, look at the situation where Bob is with him now. I mean, I don't think that the horse is running off on him. I think he's doing his best impersonation of Timmy Tetrick here right now. But what I'm saying, though, is that nobody's getting close to him. And if anything, you could say he's moving away from them even more. Look at the body language on him. Look at the way that he looks on the track. Wow. I say that this race is Phoenix to lose.
I agree with you. I agree. And I just think Bob's driving with a ton of confidence right now. For an exacta, I think Peso Hanover is kind of my play. And I'm playing a straight ticket in there.
Yeah, I agree with you. I'm throwing him in there as for third. I'm going to go up away blue chip, more or less trying to reverse what happened last week. But Peso, if somebody said to me, other than Phoenix, who's the horse that's on best form right now, I would say Peso Hanover.
We got 45 seconds for race 11.
Okay.
So let's get right to the replay here with Stonebridge Helios because that was a tough beat last time out. He's capable. He gets a better draw now. Again, they kind of went down the road last time out with him.
I think that it works to his advantage. I like once in a while with an old horse like that that's been being raced off the pace, just little bits here and there. I think every once in a while they got to go out, toe the train, and get a little bit tired for them to get stronger. Sometimes you got to take a step backwards to move forward. I think that this is going to set this horse up better. I think Dougie can come back and race him in front tonight, and he's going to be fine and to go. And if he wants to race him from off of a trip, I think that the horse is going to be even better and respond to it even better. So Stonebridge Helios, definitely the way I'm going to go.
You know what's funny? His qualifier last year was his mark because he never won a race last year. He won a qualifier last year at the Meadowlands in 51-4.
Yeah.
A qualifier. That is crazy.
That's crazy
stuff.
Speed when you can possess that kind of speed.
It is. I like going fast in here for the Takor outfits. Obviously, they're well represented. With these types of horses in here, I'll put that one on top. I've gone 410. Dirty Little Piglet, the draw is killer.
Oh, killer. But boy, talk about a horse that's in phenomenal form right now with Dirty Little Piglet. The other thing, too, with Stonebridge Helios, never forget, too, that mark of 147. Yeah. Fastest standardbred in the world, 145-4. Bulldog Hanover still.
Yeah.
So that's what? We're dealing the second, we're talking 6 lengths. Of the fastest horse in the world to what this horse has won. This is a pretty good horse when he's on his game.
Now, I know we went overtime a little bit, but it's our first run through this, so I think we did pretty good.
We did.
We did pretty good. So all the Leaf games are going overtime right now, so we can go to overtime a little bit as well. But I just want to get back to the preferred a little bit because I want to ask you about the quality of this division. It just seems like now that Logan's back, now that you have Gaines Hanover back, what do you make of the overall depth of this division right now?
Crazy tough. I mean, okay. So right now, I consider this to be our big guns, okay?
Yeah.
Logan Park, Fashion Frenzy, and Gaines Hanover, in my opinion, are our big guns, right? But at any point, Ghostly Casper, Quebec Hanover, or a couple of these other ones, Top Mass just coming into this, but racing fantastic right now and going to retain McDonald. So he's all part of it too, but we also got a couple of other ones that are coming back. What about Highland Kismet?
Yeah.
Coming back, just was yards away from winning the Hambletonian as a 3-year-old.
Yeah.
Now he's going to come back as a 4-year-old. So it's going to be incredibly deep. And I know this is going to sound maybe unpatriotic because Logan Park is going to go over and represent us in Sweden, hopefully, in the next little bit. I'm not necessarily thinking that he is going to be our strongest candidate. I truly do believe, and I love Logan Park. I'm not 100% sure if Gaines Hanover isn't going to be our top candidate. Another one I'm going to throw in there as well, a horse that I think could easily go to this level and compete hard against these horses, Paquette. There's another one. So there's 2 3-year-olds that are going to be coming back as 4-year-olds this year that have not had to race in against these types of horses, Kismet and Paquette. We're looking at a field of 8, 9 top quality trotters.
Love it. Can't wait. It's my favorite division. My favorite division. Love the open trotters. Let's get some stats and standings, shall we? I always like looking back at some of these because, if you're, maybe you're away on vacation or something like that, you want to know who's got the hot hands going in right now. We'll go back and we'll take a look at some stats in here and find out who has done very well as of late over the last week or so. And I said this to you about 2 weeks ago. I don't think I've ever seen Waugh drive as well as he is right now.
Louis driving amazingly well, top. But that is a really, really wicked 4-pack right there.
Yeah.
I mean, and this is taking nothing away from anybody else. You know what I mean? I'm just saying that grouping right there, that is a really, really tough 4-pack. Like if you wanted to go on the road like the Harlem Globetrotters years ago and just take on other racing colonies, that's not a bad 4-pack right there.
And look at that. Their winning percentage all around 20%. We always say if you're around 20%, you're doing very well. Gary Murner makes it onto the board, which is great. Jody Cullen's always been here. McNair, ever since coming back from Florida, he brought the 10 and he brought some winners. And Kyle Fellow's been right there as well. But I want to ask about Gary Murner because he's a guy that I guess I started following him closely with the Greek Freak because I kind of was a fan of that guy, you know what I mean? And I've loved watching his horses this winter.
He's got a really good crew. He's a really, really sharp kind of a trainer. Like he's he started at the bottom, so he knows a horse inside out. He knows if there's an extra stall needs to be picked up, he's in there doing it. He's a really hard worker. I know the stables that he's worked for before going out on his own, and everybody just swore by the guy's work ethic, I've never really worked with him too much, know him a little bit, very personable kind of guy. I just think he's one of those guys that we've seen, through our entire time in this business that slowly he's kind of, made his way onto the front stage. And I think at this point, it's just for him to see how far he can take this.
Yeah.
I think he's a superstar in the making.
Yeah, and a real good guy. So, I'm a fan of his as well. Okay, I'm going to let you be producer Luke for tonight for a couple of seconds at least.
This could be bad.
We're going to have our live wire segments on the show here today. We want to thank all the drivers that help us out with that. If you could put a microphone on some drivers tonight, who would you like to catch up with? And which horses, maybe?
I'd really like to catch up with McClure involving Gaines Hanover.
Yeah.
I'd just like to know what his thoughts were driving him last week.
Okay.
If I'm not mistaken, I think that Gaines Hanover, a lot of his driving was going by Sylvain Filion. So I'm not 100% sure if those qualifiers in that first start weren't the first timers for Bob. I'd like to find out from him, what his thoughts are in there. There was a horse the horse that we both like in race number 2, Cookie Air. Another one. I'd love to talk to James and ask him, what were your thoughts? That was the first time that he actually, had to race them there. He had 3 qualifiers in a row, but that was the first time he kind of raced them, you know what I mean? And I wanted to feel, find out from him, what did he feel like going to the wire, and what did he feel like a step past the wire? Does he feel like he needs another couple, or does he feel like he's ready to capitalize now? And then in I think it's race number 6. I kind of like to talk to Billy Davis, actually, about Major Fernco. I have him up on top. I think this is a good spot for him. But what I'd really like to quiz Billy about is I find that he's really sticking close to this Paul Thomas court. And not a lot of drivers have stuck close to him, but Billy's sticking right close to him. The guy's barn race is good. I just like to kind of ask Billy, you know, like, in that situation, have you found a guy that you just really get along with?
And look at the horse he's been racing against. Highland Beach Lover. Nazare got claimed for 70 the other night.
Looks like he's going to the Open.
I mean, he's been racing some absolute bears, and he gets into the lowest classification here tonight. So yeah, those are 3 good ones for sure. I've got 7 seconds in the bank here, so I can talk about whatever I want. But producer Luke says, no, let's move on. I got nothing really to add, but all great live wire segments. Let's get to our qualifying reports. And it's not all that often you get the Horse of the Year qualifying, but we had that for everybody to keep an eye on earlier on today. And his name is Nijinsky, and Tells on a Roll was able to have some qualifying action this morning as well. So let's take a look at the qualifying reports. We're going to start off, first of all, with Sterling Choice. This was qualifier number 4, goes in 153 and 3. So what are your thoughts here with Sterling Choice as you put the goggles on to take a look at the replay in here?
Number 1, I mean, I love the look of him. I have a bit of a soft spot for grays and blacks.
Yeah.
So, I mean, obviously, this is my kind of a horse, you know. He looks fantastic out there. You know, I heard a bit of a horror story with him this last qualifier where he'd stepped on a shoe, actually, and drove the nail up into his foot. And that's why he was scratched in that first qualifier. But look at him there. I mean, no nod, straight as a string, fantastic. Looks amazing. Just looks like another Blake McIntosh, you know, horse that has come back off of a layoff. I don't know where Blake lays them off, you know what I mean, or his training regime as he brings them down, but whatever it is, it works well because everything he's brought back, to me, has looked fantastic out there, this one being another.
Tells on a Roll, obviously got really good last winter it was.
Yeah.
And I was talking with Travis. He said, you know what? Like, I want to bring her back a little bit later this year because, you know, he's thinking roses and red, stuff like that, right? So here's Tells on a Roll, goes in 52 and 2.
Well, that's the big thing with him. I mean, he can go and race your mares open week in and week out. But, you know, you got some pretty big Grand Circuit races in your own backyard that go for big money. The Roses are Red, the Milton. Another one for aged mares, you know, and I think that he wants to take one of those down. You know, plus, if you get one of those big Grand Circuit wins under your belt, you know, it makes you worth a lot as a broodmare as well. She looks to me, again, looks like she's put on really, really good weight and has come back straight and strong in there. And there's Randy with the glasses on.
That's okay, though.
Okay.
Did I tell you I got my first pair of glasses?
No way.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, unfortunately.
I don't like them. No, seriously, I spent my whole life with contacts.
They help, though. I found.
I like the contacts better.
But do you need them for reading? Like, I need mine for reading.
Yeah. Well, no. I need distance.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that's where the contacts kind of do a number on me.
I'll tell you what we'll do. We're a little bit tight for time. Maybe later on today we'll show the qualifier for Nijinsky as well.
Please.
Because
let's look at
he
that.
He didn't win, but that was the Nijinsky qualifier. Oh, pardon me. Finished third against Tells on a Roll. Sorry, I wasn't paying attention to. We'll show it again because I wasn't paying attention to Nijinsky in there. My apologies.
No, that's fine.
New show look. I'm all over the place.
This is it. Exactly.
Look, we have time. Can we look at that qualifier one more time? Is that possible? Okay, let's look at it one more time because then we'll focus on third. Because I was looking at the winner.
Tells on a Roll. Me too.
Okay, so let's take a look at Nijinsky in here. So right now, was in third with this horse, and you know what? At first glance, you're going to say, okay, well, you didn't win the qualifier in here, but what are we looking at here with Wad? Like, what do you want to see right now?
Right now, I just love everything about him. I mean, he's keeping up absolutely perfect. He's straight as can be. You know, Louis just sitting on him. This has got nothing to do with whether or not the horse has any go. He's got lots. He gives him a tap. You're going to see just exactly what he's going to do. He's going to explode. That was a horse that had gone out and had a first qualifier, and there's no doubt in my mind that they're looking to set him up with a second qualifier and maybe a third qualifier.
Yeah.
They didn't want to do anything extra there, just get him around, show him everything again, you know what I mean? What I take from that is that he is dead rate on those other horses' rate with no urging, no tap, no nothing, no wheel disc. That's just that horse pulling Louis along, and he's straight as can be. That's what I want to see.
Thanks to producer Luke. A lot on our mind here with this new show format, so apologies there, but we saw it twice. So that's nice. We were able to focus on Tells on a Roll and able to focus on Nijinsky as well. And the big thing, too, I think next week, Louis probably goes down the road.
I don't know. It depends on how. I mean, if you're asking me what I would talk to Tony about, it depends. If they're saying, okay, we're going to qualify him twice and then we're going to race him, I say you're right. I say send him down the road.
If it's 3 qualifiers?
If it's 3, I do the same thing what they just did. Even if he feels even better, I still bury him. And then, they can drop 5 seconds the first time that they see a starting gate at night like that.
Right.
So he just went a mile in probably 53 there. If he goes back and goes a mile in 52, that to me setting him up for a 48 mile, 47 mile. He doesn't need to go any more than that.
Good stuff. Great to have him back. By the way, as well, quick note about Nijinsky. I don't know if we haven't talked about this. I don't know if you saw this or not, but Nijinsky, one of the owners now is Winback Farms. They bought into him.
So he'll stand up here.
He's going to stand at Winback.
Oh, that's fantastic.
Yeah. So they bought into him, and so this year he's got a new owner in Winback, and he'll be standing here, which is great to see.
That's fantastic. Kind of a hometown hero anyway.
Yeah. Well, I guess his daddy stood here, so.
Well, Better's Delight.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Yeah.
And it's nice to have a Better's Delight because you're always looking for that one that's going to take over from Better's Delight, and why not it be a son of Better's Delight?
Is that common though? Like some of the farmers will buy in when they know, or is it usually at the end of the year they do it? They'll buy into the.
Usually by the end of their 3-year-old year, you know what I mean? And I mean, let's face it, he hasn't raced as a 4-year-old, so technically they did buy in at the end of his 3-year-old year.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He hasn't made a start yet as a 4-year-old, so they're going by what he did last year. I say Winback, you made a very, very good purchase.
Great stuff. Congratulations to Team Coleman and Anthony Beaton as well. That's always nice to get that stallion deal done. It's a nice piece of mind, right? So, hey, we did it. We got plays of the night. I know how to do these. We've done plays of the night 1,000 times. So, Randy, I think you're going to go first with the plays of the night. And let's find out where you're going to go first of all. You're going to start off with, I'm with you on Fadeaway Hanover. That's a good all-in play today.
I think so. Yeah. I mean, if Scotty's going to stick his neck out and go against his dad, I say he's looking to be in the winner's circle. Worth a look going to be Tangle Sealster. Justin Turcotte beating the Fave is going to be Better Sunset. He was horse to watch in his last start for Breather and Travis Cullen, and I think he can be good in there. Crystal Baller must be a late scratch on him, so there will be no Waples watch tonight. What about you, Mr. Bratt?
The good news is the worst you can do is 0 for 3. My best is going to be Cookie Air. I think JJ Tommy, listen, you can knock at the door as much as you want, but the door's going to come crashing down at some point. So I'll make JJ Tommy my knocking at the door. My possible upsetter is coming up in a race number 8, that being Shadrach Hanover. And going fast, that's going to be my value play coming up in a race number 11 on the program.
That's a good.
I'm hoping we get like 3-1, something like that. That's going to be my hope with that one. Johnny Rallis, great to see Johnny back with you on the show on Saturday. He's got a spot play being Tango Sealster coming up in race number 4, so he's with you on that. Ghislaine says, okay, go with Major Fernco. And Garnet Barnsdale, his spot play is going to be Better Sunset coming up in race number 7 of the program. Just going to feel the phone here. Doesn't look like Twitter is exploding by any means. And I got a message here from, I better be clean, Tom. So we'll be seeing.
None of my former school teachers.
Tom Halleck. I'm liking the Pardon the Interruption format. The pregame show, says Tom. Okay, this is good so far. He says, by the way, Jeff, glasses aren't bad. I've worn them since I was 8, and now I've progressive for reading and working on my laptop and glasses for daily wear. By the way, I'm 56. Tom, you did not make fun of the show today. We appreciate it. That was kind of risky.
Is there anything we can send them?
That was kind of, that was kind of risky reading a tweet live on air because it could have been, right, you suck and Waples go back to driving.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, well, I don't think anybody's ever going to say Waples go back to driving. It's just going to be Waples go.
All right, we did it. Okay, so we're about 6 minutes away from race number 1. When we come back, we'll talk about the horses for the opener. It's Woodbine Racing Live from Mohawk Park coming up next.